So if you're wanting to launch your clothing brand with OEM product, this is the video for you. By the end of this video, you're going to know the pros and cons for OEM, how you can get started with it, and if it's right for you. So let's get started. Hey, I'm Annie. I am someone with 18 years of experience in fashion industry as a designer, product developer, and development director. I've spent the last 4 years helping startups and new brands create their clothing lines, and I'm here to help you. From start to finish, design to launch, we will get this going. So what is OEM? OEM means original equipment manufacturing. Basically what it means is you are buying from a manufacturer, direct from a manufacturer, their pre-existing styles, but you're also able to customize them just a little bit. This is the next step up from private label, because now you're not going through wholesalers. With private label, you buy styles from a wholesaler. You don't have any say with the fit or the fabric or the color. It's a little different when you get to OEM. OEM means you're buying direct from the manufacturer. So a lot of times, most people will find OEM manufacturers through Alibaba or a trade show or global sources or just referrals if you're in the industry. I have a lot of factories that I work with, and they have their own catalog of OEM product too that you can rummage through instead of doing completely custom work. So almost every factory does it. The nice thing about OEM is that you can do a little bit further customization, and then also that factory will do all the work for you. So you will receive finished goods in the bag, ready to go, and you can just ship it out. You don't need to send it to another embellisher to put a screen print on it, to put a embroidery on it. You don't have to do any of that. All you need to do is just buy from that direct manufacturer. A lot of times they'll also take care of the logistics for you, meaning freight. Because it's OEM, you're generally going to be buying from overseas. You're also going to have to pay for shipping. They arrange it for you, so it's a lot less headache for you. But it's a great way for you to be able to buy semi-custom apparel, goods, accessories, whatever you're doing. So OEM manufacturing sits in the middle between private label and contract manufacturing. It kind of has the benefits of both, where you can have a faster turnaround for product. You can have a lower inventory product, because a lot of times OEM product will have, unless you're customizing it, will have a low MOQ, kind of like the 6 to 10 units. But if you're customizing it, you're going to have to increase it more to something like 100 units. But that's still not as much as, what contract manufacturing would be. So you potentially might be able to find a silhouette you like, but have a choice of fabric or a different, more custom color. The manufacturer will also be able to add embellishments for you. So they'll be able to add your main label. You'll have more options for main label. Do you want it to be a label, or do you want it to be a heat transfer? Do you want to add your logo anywhere? If you add your logo, you add your artwork, you also have more options when it comes to the application. So instead of just settling for an embroidery logo, you can have what type of embroidery you want. You want a flat embroidery? You want a raised embroidery? Do you want it to be embossed? Do you want to be debossed? Do you want to have a flocking on there? When it comes to your prints, be able to add prints on the full garment. So you can either do sublimation, where you're sublimating a whole graphic piece on the garment, or you're doing all over printing and it's screen printing. It's so much easier for the OEM supplier to do that for you. Some of the drawbacks of OEM is that it's going to be more expensive for you to start up. Because if you're doing any kind of customization, obviously you are paying at least 100 units per style per color to get that done, right? But your unit cost will be lower, depending on what you're going to do. There's a little less, I don't want to say nickel and diming, but it basically is, when it comes to things like bagging and adding your main label, because when you're in private label, you're paying for things a la carte with your embellisher. When you are doing OEM, you'll have one finished cost for everything, and it'll be out the door, bagged, tagged, with your label, with your embellishments, with your customizations, and ready to go. Another con could be that the turnaround time will be less. You have to know that you're going to have a minimum of 30 days for production if you're doing any kind of customization. And you might have a little bit of a sampling process, because if you are doing some customization, you want to be able to see that beforehand, before you go ahead and purchase it with production, right? So that can add an extra 2 to 3 weeks for you to just get a sample in for you to approve. And then you've got to pay for logistics, because now you're paying for freight, and that is not cheap. because the unit price is so low, That combined with your freight price on a per unit, it's still going to be less expensive than the cost of what you're doing for private label. And then you have inventory, and you've got a lot more inventory than what you would have had with private label. So those are the things you need to think about when it comes to leveling up from private label to OEM. You have a lot more control as a brand. You are creating something semi-custom, and you have a lot more control at what your brand aesthetic looks like and how it's presented. But you are also now starting to take on a lot more of the responsibilities of a contract manufacturer. And therefore, you as a brand owner are more owning that product rather than kind of borrowing the product from a manufacturer. Now that we have the pros and cons out of the way and I've given you all the warnings, how does OEM work? We're going from start to finish. I'm not going to go again. It's going to be your idea and your concept. What does your aesthetic look like? What does your brand look like? What does your ethos look like? What does your vision look like? Get all that down, because now you're going to have to source internationally for a supplier. And because you want to go direct to a manufacturer, because you don't want to have a middleman. I mean, you could have a sourcing person help you out because they have more contacts to go overseas, but there's a couple of ways for you to do this. Once you've had your plan of what you want to offer, the types of styles you want, you can do this all in images if you want, because you technically don't need a designer if you're going to do OEM product, because you're picking silhouettes out. You're not designing silhouettes, right? But you always could have a designer if you want to, but they don't need to do tech packs for this type of production, because all that is going to be taken care of by the manufacturer. You don't have really any say about how the fit looks. You just get the samples and you approve. So get your ideas. Always, always, always. That's how you're going to differentiate yourself. Get your ideas, get your aesthetic, know the color palette that you want, because you have an option here to be able to customize your color palette, as long as you can place the minimum order for that. Once you have that down and you know what you want to offer and you know what your collection is going to look like, you want to then go and find the factory that you want to go with. And there's plenty of different ways for you to do this. You can go by referrals if you have friends that have worked with factories. If you're going to someone like me, who is more of a consultant, a designer that has contacts, I would be able to help you out. If you're going with someone like me, if you're wanting to try to do this on your own, online portals like Alibaba, Global Sources, there's a whole bunch of other ones that are popping up. I will tell you the warning about going it on your own with Alibaba and Global Sources is that you will need to find a diamond in the rough, because there are a ton of factories on there. Not all of them are good, and so you will be burning through a lot of money to get samples. Because remember, you're going to have to pay for not just a sample, which could be like $5, $10, but you're also paying for shipment, which if you're shipping from anything from Asia to the US could be at least $100 to $150. So you're going to be investing some money in to getting some samples head to you. And you're going to need to find the diamond in the rough when it comes to Alibaba, because there's a lot, I'll just tell you, there's a lot of shit suppliers on Alibaba. All those online marketplaces for factories. Another option for you, this could be a little overwhelming for some people, but you can go to trade shows. So one of the biggest trade shows is called Magic, and their sourcing trade show is a free trade show for you as long as you have a business. So you have to have a business license. I think you have to have a business email, but you can register with them, and it's a great way for you to go to one place and it's over a 3-day run. So on the West Coast, it'll be in Vegas. On the East Coast, it'll be in New York. 3 days, they separate everything out into countries and into categories. You'll be able to walk up and down the aisles and touch and feel all the samples that are there, right? And you'll be able to talk to the sales reps from each manufacturer, find out what their MOQs are, find out what your customization can be. I just will warn you, it's a lot for most people, and it can get very, very overwhelming for somebody to go there. It's not an easy thing. It's a lot of walking. You have to go in knowing what you want. Don't go in thinking you're going to window shop and just browse around, because then you're not going to get anything accomplished. Just make sure you go in, and I do go to trade shows. When you know what you're doing, they're very, very useful. So my advice, if you decide to go to a trade show, which they happen twice a year, is for you to have a good idea and a good focus of what you want, because just be laser focused. Like, I am looking for loungewear, sweatpants, oversized sweatpants, and I'm just going to look for the best fabric and the best fits and everything. That's what I'm looking for. And have that on a piece of paper, in your iPad, whatever you need to be, so you can find them. And then you can ask them directly what their MOQ is, what their turnaround time is, and how much things cost, and you'll be able to get the contacts from there. So that's an option for you as well. Once you figured out your factory and you're starting to negotiate with them what customizations you want to get samples in. Samples generally will take 2 to 3 weeks for you to get because they'll need to be able to source fabric for you or tweak their pattern for you. But just know if you do any kind of customization, it's going to bump your MOQ, your minimum order quantity, because now they're making something specific for you instead of you just buying from their stock, right? So you'll get your samples. Once you get your samples, you can test them out. If you want to have a fitting with a fit model, that's great because I always recommend having fit models. Fit models are meant to be the ideal body type for your audience. So having somebody there and being really objective about what your clothing looks like on somebody else will be very helpful. So you evaluate the samples, decide on what you want, if you have any tweaks. Generally you don't have very much option for tweaks except for your customization parts, and then give your comments to the factory and either place an order or don't place an order. When you place an order, it's going to take 30 days for them to do production for you. And then once you get to the production, then they will ship it out to you. You'll have probably, depending on where the factory is, like if the factory's in China, it's going to be like another 30 days for shipment. If the factory is in Turkey or Bangladesh, it's going to be like 45 days. If your factory is in South America, it's going to be like 2 weeks. So then you get those in to you, and then you will have inventory. And once you have that inventory, you can take out a couple pieces, go have a photo shoot, put it on your website. Bish, bash, bosh, your job's done. This is going to be the way for you to be in the middle when it comes to how much you're going to spend. And because you're going to spend more than the private label, but you're going to spend less than your contract manufacturing. You're going to have inventory, but not as much as you would if you did everything fully custom. So it's a good step up to the from private label process. You're going to be able to have more ownership in your designs and in your silhouette because you've picked everything out. You'll be able to have more ownership in the brand, in the silhouettes, and have them be your own, right? And depending on your relationship with that factory, maybe they say, okay, great, you keep ordering from us like this will be your own design and we won't share it with anybody. So how do you know if OEM is right for you, or even if you're ready for OEM? Well, if you want to have more control about your styles and be able to make it more of a cohesive brand that really speaks to your brand's vision and how you want the aesthetic to look like, then OEM might be a good stepping stone for you. If you're able to hold some inventory, and this is not going to be a little bit of inventory. It's not like a handful of pieces where you can have like a little corner in your home to hold the inventory. This is going to be like you may need to order 100 pieces per style per color. And that MOQ means like if you buy a pair of leggings and you tweak the design a little bit with the OEM manufacturer and your MOQ is 100 per style per color and you want a black, a white, a blue, and a pink, each one of those will be 100 pieces. So now you've got 400 pieces delivering to your house. Can you handle that much inventory? If you can, you're going to have the benefits of having a lower cost of goods. You can keep your pricing the same and your profit margins will start to go up. You see, like if you're going down the line from print on demand to private label to OEM and you keep your pricing consistent, you're consistently increasing your profit margin because your cost of goods is reducing. So if you're wanting to do that, this is going to be a good way for you to have a medium weight of inventory, reduce your pricing to increase your profit margin, and have a little bit more ownership in the silhouettes for your brand. So if you're looking for all those things, OEM might be a good option for you. So I hope you found this to be valuable information. Don't worry, I know there's a lot in there. We're going to keep going granular and granular until you understand every little bit of the OEM production process. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask below. I will either answer in the comments or I will just go ahead and make another video so you have a really good understanding of where we're at. If you want to see more of my content and continue to learn about the apparel process to build a clothing line, go to this video right here, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, bye.